How's it going, creators? Jake Barros here, and today we're going to be looking at a really simple way to put good looking motion graphics and text in your videos. But like always, before we do, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and if you do enjoy this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up for me. Make sure you're also following me on my socials, especially my Instagram, for some more great content, as well as tuning into Twitch on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday for some great live stream fun. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into creating some simple motion graphics. So what I'm going to show you is a really simple method or formula or process that you can utilize over and over again to get some great looking motion. You can apply this to literally everything, to lower thirds, titles, intros, outros, stream alerts. Apply them to graphics and images that you want to pop into your videos and pop back out and all kinds of things. Literally, this will work for anything that you just want to move across the screen. So let's jump into Premiere Pro. Like always, it doesn't matter about the software. All you really need to be able to do in your editing program is to keyframe your objects. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so here we are in Premiere Pro. Now I've just gone ahead and found some B-roll of this rave or concert, I don't know. Something's happening and people are jumping. And I've also gone ahead and create some color mats as well. So a white, a black, and my brand purple. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add these into our timeline here, just so we have something that flows. Okay, cool. So I've gone ahead and just made everything about 3 seconds just for the sake of this video. Obviously, the duration of your text is going to depend on how long you need it to be on screen. Okay, so all we need to do is add in a text layer. I'm gonna do that by going Control T on my PC here and heading into Effect Controls. I'm gonna quickly customize this text. So there we go, we got jump. Super creative. So we're gonna look at adding some keyframes onto this text layer to make it move into screen and move out of screen. So what we need to do, we need to go into our effects panel and choose transform. We can search for it. And we just click and drag it onto our text layer. Now what we need to do, we need to bring our playhead to the front of our text layer here. And we're gonna go ahead and click the toggle animation little stopwatch there next to position to start our keyframing. So this little formula I created when I started editing and playing around with keyframing and everything. And for me, I just found it such an easy go-to to get the kind of motion that I wanted on my text and graphics. So don't think of this as like, you have to do it exactly like this. This is just a starting point for you guys. You can manipulate this little formula however you want. Essentially, you just want to kind of tweak things in order to get the kind of motion that looks good for you. For me, I like something that looks a little bit more natural. You know, things that kind of slow down just before it gets to its point. Things that kind of bounce in the opposite direction before it goes in the direction it actually wants to go in. So utilize this formula as a starting point and tweak accordingly. So the formula looks something like this. We've dropped a keyframe at the start of our text layer here. And we're gonna go 5 keyframes forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna go and go 1 back. Back to our 5th one. And now we're going to go 2 keyframes forward. 1, 2, and 2 more. 1, 2. So you should be left with something that looks like this. Once again, that's 5 keyframes forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 back. Back to our 5th. 2 forward, 2 forward. So now that we have the skeleton for our little motion keyframes here, we can go ahead and drop in the actual positions we need. So I think for this scene, because it's jumping and everyone's jumping up and down, I kind of want the word jump to come from the bottom of the actual frame. So what I'm gonna do, from our first keyframe, I'm gonna utilize that Y position and drag it downwards. Now our 5th keyframe that we did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's our like anchor position. That's exactly where we want the text to be when it's finished all its motion. So with that said, what I'm gonna do on the fourth keyframe is pull it back a little bit. So I'm gonna drag it down maybe about 20, 30 points. So let's just say 560. So now we've simply got the jump word moving from the bottom to exactly where we want it to finish. What these last two keyframes are is that little bit of motion afterwards. Like I was saying before, I like my motion to seem a bit natural. It seems weird to me that something would fly in and just suddenly stop. That's kind of not how movement works for my eyes. I like to see something move in and there's a little bit of like elasticity. Elasticity? Elactousness? Oh my God, what's that word? My brain has literally just gone, is that a word? Is elastic a word? You guys know what I mean. There's a little bit of bounce back, right? Every time I think of like motion in terms of editing, I always think of it like running. It would hurt quite a lot if you were sprinting in and then just suddenly stopped on the spot. It would also be super weird. So generally, if you're running really fast and you know you're about to hit the point where you need to stop, you slow down a little bit. And maybe once you get to that point, you also kind of like go a little bit forward, maybe walk it back to where you want to actually stop. So that's kind of like where my head goes when I think about this kind of movement. So this is essentially our runner. We're sprinting, we're slowing down, we get to the point we actually want to stop at, we take a few steps forward, and then we walk it back. So this last keyframe is also the same as our fifth point. It's also another anchor point. So what I generally like to do with this, again, it's kind of like our fourth. We want to walk it forward a little bit. So I'm gonna do something maybe like 520. I always think that 20 or 30 points difference is probably a good place to start. And then we're gonna make sure that this comes back to our 540 anchor point, which it does. So now we've got something that looks like this. We can see that we go in, we slow down, there's a little jump, and it finishes. So now that we have our formula, I can kind of start tweaking this a little bit. With big text, I always say make those points a little bit bigger in size in terms of the difference. So our second keyframe, I'm probably gonna make this something like 600. Our walking forward point, I'm probably gonna make something more like 500, and then it snaps back. So now we can see that this movement is a lot better. Every point is a little bit more obvious, especially that jump at the end. I think that's kind of key, at least for the movement that I like. Seeing that little bit of a bounce back just makes it something a little bit different than a straightforward cut once it lands in place. And that's it, guys. That's essentially the whole trick, the whole formula that you need to do to get some great motion graphics into your videos. I can now go ahead, add more text into our timeline, add some motion to it, and get something looking pretty good. So I've gone ahead, added some more text, added some more motions, tweaked everything just a little bit, and now we're left with this. So it's looking pretty good. All we've done is apply that skeleton we made before, and we've just changed the X and Y points to fit the direction we want the text going in. So the more you play around with this skeleton, the more you'll start understanding that motion and the keyframes a lot more, which means that you'll probably start getting a little bit more adventurous in adding in your own. And that's what I went ahead and did here. This little knock-on effect is essentially just replicating that little walk forward and walk back like we did before. So back on our jump, this section here, that little up and down, I've basically just replicated here to give it that little knock-on effect. Super, super easy. But you're probably sitting there being like, Jake, that's great. We've got our entrance. We've got some little extra things we could do. What about the exit? The exit is actually really, really simple. There's two ways you can actually go about it. You could either go ahead and keyframe it all in. It will essentially be our skeleton, but in reverse. Or a really simple way is just reversing our intro. So we can go ahead and bring that playhead maybe one frame over from our last keyframe. And I'm gonna cut it there. And I'm just gonna duplicate that little clip and drag it into place. So I'm gonna hold down Alt, drag it into place. So yes, this is currently playing like it did at the start. Like I said, we need to reverse it. So we go ahead and right click, we choose speed and duration, and we go reverse speed. And now we've got our little exit motion. Super simple, super simple. Okay, so I'm gonna do that to these ones here, duplicate them over. We're going to reverse that speed. And now we've got everything exiting. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna extend this purple background And I think to finish this little video, it would be really nice if the background pulled away and revealed our little call to action at the end. So I'm simply just going to do the same thing we just did. I'm going to come back to our jump layer. Here's our first original skeleton that we made. I'm going to go ahead and copy that transform effect, bring it onto our text layer, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this here. I don't actually need this little entrance anymore, so what I'm going to do is just delete that transform effect. Now it's static like it was before. So once again, we need to go ahead and reverse this, but first we have to nest it. We can't reverse a graphic like that. So we got to nest it first and go ahead and reverse it. And now we have the background exiting. Now the only thing that I tweak on motion on the backgrounds is that bounce. To me, it just looks a bit funny seeing that black and then it revealing. So all I'm going to do is hop into that nest, and I'm actually going to delete that bounce, which is these two keyframes here. So now it should be a simple drop down and reveal. Super, super easy. So that's all you need to do to get simple, great looking motion graphics across your content. It doesn't matter if it's like alerts for your live stream, title sequences, outros for your YouTube videos, or just little bits and bobs on your social content as well. You can utilize that little formula, that little skeleton to up your content so easily. Anyway, creators, that's all I have for you today. I hope this video has been super helpful for you. If it has, make sure you do hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to level up your content even more, then you can also join my Discord. It's a community full of like-minded creative people where you don't just get to connect with one another and chat, but it's also a place where I'll drop free assets. You can get tips and tricks and advice. You can ask questions on gear and everything else. So I'll drop the link to the Discord down below in the description. Anyway, have fun with creating some sweet motion graphics, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.